Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we have more on people and relationships. What is the most effective psychological trick you use? Well, let's hear some stories, and I hope you guys get something out of this. Or at the very least, recognize when someone is trying to manipulate you.
If you're dealing with kids, give the kids two choices, instead of letting them pick from whatever you control. Could be 2 points of time, like, do you want to pick up your toys now or in 10 minutes? Or, do you want to put the red or blue shirt on? Things like that work wonderfully. They feel in control, but have absolutely no control. It can also work with certain adults too.
Let me see your identification.
You don't need to see his identification.
We don't need to see his identification.
Hey kid, do you want to stop now? Or do I have to beat the shit out of you? Don't apologize to people, thank them. When you're delivering food that's taken a while to cook, don't say, sorry for the delay. Say, thanks for your patience. Saying sorry focuses on your fault, while thanking focuses on their good quality.
Thank you for letting me have sex with your wife.
Of course. When you find something that amazing, it's just rude not to share.
I use this one at work, loss aversion. People are programmed to obsess over the negatives. Let's say you are pitching an idea and it has 5 benefits and 2 drawbacks. People will obsess over the 2 drawbacks no matter how much the 5 benefits blow it out of the water. They can't help it, they're not being stupid, they're just being human, so flip it, write it about the 5 drawbacks of not doing it compared to the 2 advantages of not doing it. People will now focus on the 5 original benefits. Because they are now what will be lost by not doing it. The 2 advantages of not doing it will hardly get a mention.
When I want someone to like me more, I'll ask them to do me a small favor. Psychologically, people will often convince themselves that they like you, as a way to justify their investment in a favor or the expenditure of energy in your behalf.
This works well, provided it's a small menial thing, that doesn't take too much effort. While they're doing it, they might question why they are doing it and realize it's based on how much they like you.
Hey Dave, I know we don't get to chat much in the office, due to the fact that, well we're on different floors and all, but by any chance could you do me a huge favor and paint my house this weekend?
One that I picked up from a friend of mine whenever he was trying to pick out dinner with his girlfriend, rather than ask what do you want? And getting the typical,
I don't know, anything?
Answer, and then having your suggestions shot down, so instead, start with, what do you not want? I used it a few times in some of my relationships and the question is a godsend. Another good one to try is the, hey babe, guess where I'm taking you for dinner? Trick. Then when she guesses you just say, yeah. How did you know?
Oh. It better not be freaking Applebee's.
Yeah. How did you know?
I also like the 5, 2, 1 game. Have someone pick 5 places, then pick 2, then 1. Usually it narrows down on something to eat or do.
I work in an office. When people stop by my desk and refuse to leave me alone, I will get up and refill my water bottle while they continue talking to me. Instead of walking back to my desk, I walk them to theirs. They instinctively will sit down, then I just sever the conversation and get back to work.
This is actually brilliant. I have a few chatty co-workers who station themselves by my desk way past their welcome. I'll definitely have to try this out.
Just be sure you have spare water bottles to refill, in case the one you use is already full.
Excuse me, did you just walk me to my desk while we were talking?
Ha. What do you mean? I was just following you. Anyways, talk to you later. Bye. Or you could also say, oh. I thought you were the one leaving. Well, either way, I forgot my phone at my desk, and I'm expecting a call, So, I'll catch you later.
I did this with overly chatty customers at work when we were busy, except I would lead them to the register. More often than not, they would get in line or at least end the conversation with me, because they forgot to get something. Similar with phones, if I had a customer going on for way too long, I would ask if I could place them on a brief hold. By the time I got back on, they would usually wrap it up.
I work with a bunch of idiot lawyers and I use the phrase, you're correct. All the time, even if it's one teeny tiny thing they're correct about. It makes them feel smart and they instantly soften. It also keeps them listening because they're hoping more flattery will come down the pike.
I speak at conferences all over the world, And a lot of the speakers use this in their Q&A. If there's a particularly hard question to answer, they always start with,
"Wow, what a great question,"
etc., etc. Generally speaking, the asker is so pleased that their question got praised by the speaker in front of all those people, that they are less critical of, and pay less attention to the actual answer. Start saying, "So, tell me about your day," instead of, "How was your day?" I do it when I really want to chat with a person, and not get the usual,
It's been okay.
and then nothing out of them after that. I heard this on Reddit a while back, and I am amazed at how well it works. You get some real information out of the person, that you can maybe relate to or help with, or share similar ideas/stories.
I usually think of my future self. How will my future self feel in an hour or two if I skip my gym session? Will my future self be happy if I do this pile of dishes now, before bed? Or would he prefer to have to do it in the morning, before work? I have a 3-month deadline on this project. Will my future self appreciate my current self taking the first 3 or 4 weeks easy, or will he be really pissed off? Essentially delayed gratification. Pretty much all the bad stuff gives us instant gratification, while all the good stuff has delayed gratification. I always try to remember that. If I have to wait to reap the rewards, then it's probably the best option.
Whenever I know somebody is holding some truth from me, I'll look at them and stay silent. No nodding, no acknowledging, just looking. The silence usually brings out the truth or an extra detail. If they squirm around a bit, you know there's something they have exaggerated, etc.
People in business and especially reporters call this aggressive listening.
It's also a sales tactic known as the pregnant pause, where you let the other party fill the conversational gap. They'll usually give you more information than they want, just to simply avoid the silence.
When you need to find out a name, for example for a lead or something, you can say, "Oh, is John still managing up there?" They usually go for,
"Nope, it's actually Mark now."
This works with anything really, just use a fake pretense. "Hey, is that your Ford Focus outside?"
"What? No, mine's the Ferrari."
When you are standing in a group, and somebody tells a joke or something funny happens, people tend to look towards the person they like the most while laughing.
This isn't something I've used, but I think it's worth sharing. Darren Brown the illusionist said that once there was a muscly drunk guy that wanted to beat him up and said the classic,
"What the are you looking at?"
Darren replied with, "The wall outside my house is 4 feet tall." The idea is that it puts the aggravated person on the back foot and takes them out of that adrenaline-filled state. Anyways, he eventually sat down with the guy and he started crying to him about his girlfriend. He is Darren Brown though, so I wouldn't recommend this to everyone. Darren Brown also suggests, for example,
"Yo, bro, are you looking at my girl?"
"Sorry, it's just, she reminded me of my sister, she was killed in a car accident."
I'm trying this one, next time I'm out and drunk as
"Yo, bro, are you looking at my girl?"
She looks like she was in a car accident, and I'm laughing my ass off.
If someone says they have the hiccups, ask them to prove it. 9 out of 10 times, their hiccups will disappear. Having to summon a hiccup in order to demonstrate will trick your diaphragm into just not hiccuping. I've been able to twist it around on myself with some success as well, but it takes practice. You realize you have hiccups, then try to hiccup, actively try to make yourself do another one, and it will stop.
My husband always says,
"I will give you $50 if you hiccup 2 more times."
it works amazingly well, he's never had to pay me.
If I'm having a conversation that's a bit difficult, or I don't have a lot to say, then I'll repeat the last word or phrase that the other person said, with a slight tilt of my head, as if I'm rephrasing it as a question. Virtually all the time, they'll expand or elaborate on what they said previously, and then move on to something else too. I can keep a whole conversation going just by doing this, but a lot of the time, it will also help the other person open up and they'll feel like they've been able to have their say. Sometimes it's useful when you don't give a shit and can't be bothered with the conversation, but don't want to be rude. However, it's also very useful when you do want to hear from someone, and genuinely want them to share something, so it can be used for both good and evil.
This one is dumb and shouldn't work, but I'm a bartender, and if I ask someone if they want another drink and nod my head at the same time, Most people are inclined to do it.
When I was a bartender, I would always put a few 5s and 10s in my tip jar along with 1s to start my shift. People felt obliged to tip more when they saw the tip jar was already filled by others. They tip better when they see larger denomination bills in the jar. It typically allowed me to collect 20 to 30% more in tips per shift. I work as a project manager. I put at least one noticeable grammatical error in my work, a project plan for example, before I deliver it. People always want to correct something even if there isn't something to correct, so I leave an error for them to find, so they won't pick on the content you worked so hard on.
Not sure if this would apply to the work you actually do, but it would also show if someone actually looked at it or not, if they don't point out the obvious mistake.
This is the best advice for military room inspections as well. Leave one obvious, but not crazy imperfection, and 9 out of 10 times, they'll point that out and then leave.
Whenever I'm walking through a crowd, I always look at my destination while being aware of my peripherals. Most people will pick up on your body language and avoid running into you. Just don't forget to keep an eye out for rude people who will run right into you, because they were too busy oogling their phone screens.
Nah, you should run into them and assert your dominance.
When I first meet people, I tell stories that involve other people talking to me, or that involve an inner monologue. That way, I can repeat my name in the story, as the other person has already likely forgotten it. This spares them the embarrassment of having to ask my name again.
Making people think that you need them is always better than asking them to simply do something for you. In other words, instead of saying, "Hey, can you do this for me?" you should say, "Listen, I need your help, I can't do this." Makes people feel good about themselves, and even like you more on a deeper level.
Use the phrase, "What's the reason for that?" instead of simply asking, "Why?" Asking why pisses people off.
If I really want my wife to listen to something, I will say, "Hey, hon, did you? You know what, never mind, it's not important."
This is brilliant, it should have infinite upvotes.
What the hell? I'm not married, but I'm just now realizing that my boyfriend does this, probably sometimes unintentionally, and yes, it works every damn time. If you want to immediately build a positive first impression with either a stranger or a potential work acquaintance, then start by giving them a sincere compliment. You can pick something they wore or something they're doing, but the rules are: A. It should be something they obviously value, a personalized watch, taking care with their makeup, maybe a skill they are doing, something they obviously put thought into. B. It should be a sincere compliment. People can tell when you're telling them their crazy hat looks good, when really, you think it's over the top. C. It should be specific and preferably relate to their character or values. For example, to a stranger you can say, "Hey, I really like that t-shirt you're wearing, that graphic is so interesting." Or to a colleague you can say, "Hey, thanks so much for that presentation. I really enjoyed learning about X, Y, and Z." D. You should have an open-ended follow-up that invites them to talk about themselves. Again you can say, "Hey, isn't that the graphic from that new TV show? I haven't seen it yet." Or again you could have said, "Could you please tell me a bit more about how your work relates to the stuff you were talking about yesterday?" And yes, it's social engineering. It works. Use this power for good, matey.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out my other videos. Also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and ring the notification bell.